Hey guys, it's Nicole, and I am back, and I'm going to do something a little different this is the Amy Tangerine kit that I did a video on a little while ago. And I've made one layout with it, and then I just was having a hard time for some reason getting going with it. And every so often when I get in a place where I'm having trouble, either I'm just not maybe motivated, or I feel like I'm in a rut, or that all my layouts are starting to look the same and I need to do something a little bit different, I do this, what I'm going to show you guys. I do this process. It is not my process. I've tweaked it a little bit for myself, but it's actually an idea from Shamel Lane. And it was an idea that came out of one of her classes that I had taken. And I've probably done this maybe 4 or 5 times, and I've loved the results every single time. Every single time. I've loved the layouts that have come out of this process. And it's a little scary, and it's different, and it's completely out of probably most people's comfort zones. But it has really honestly worked for me, and it's used up a ton of product, especially when you have kits that are fairly big. And because I got all of, the entire collection, I got the 6x6 pad, I got the 12x12 pad, I have like, there's 48 papers in the 12x12, and then another 36. So I have so much product, and this is a great way to use it. It's a great way to make yourself use it and cut it up and put it on paper, on scrapbook pages. So what it entails is basically, it entails just randomly cutting up paper. And when you have a new collection like this, that's hard. So you might want to start with an older collection that you've been wanting to use up and do it that way first. Because I've done it a few times, and I know that it's worked out great for me every single time. I'm not scared to do it with a brand new collection like this one. And basically what I'm going to do, and this might be, a couple, 2 or 3 videos, we'll see how it goes, is you pull out like your background papers and, set those aside, and then the papers that that you're going to want to cut up or use in smaller portions, you just randomly cut. And you create strips and boxes and rectangles, and you can do die cuts if you want. If you want to get would be a great time to get out your Big Shot or your Cricut and just randomly make some fun die cuts that you've been wanting to make. And I just came up with that idea. Actually, I think I might do that here. And while it seems like it's more of a cookie cutter type of way to scrapbook, it actually has led to more creativity on my part, and like I said, I've ended up being able to use up more supplies and make more layouts in a smaller amount of time. So the first thing I'm going to do is I showed you guys my entire kit, and I had it all organized and laid out. But when I decided to do this process, I need to kind of get some of it out of my workspace because I'm not going to be using it right now. So anything that I consider like a page topper, so anything that is 3D that I'm going to be adding kind of towards the very end of my layout making process, I am taking away for right now. I'm going to just set it aside, and it's not going to be part of my process right now, but it will be later. Okay, so I'm taking that away, and then I am keeping close but setting aside because I'm not quite ready for it yet. My ribbons, the border stickers, and then any of the flat paper die cuts. So the journaling cards, the die cuts. I'm keeping the ribbons close by because those you could easily use as part of your main background, because you can use it as a border strip. And then my stamps and my mists. And so basically what I'm going to do is, first of all, the 6x6 pad, I don't often always have both. I have to really love the line, or in this case, I just know I love her stuff, to buy both. So in this case, I'm going to use the 6x6 pad, so I know I'm going to have a ton of 6x6 shaped papers to play with. And so I'm going to leave that as is and just leave that alone. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my either collection kit if you have that, or if you've created your own kit, or if you have a paper pad like this, go through your papers, and if they're double-sided, that makes it a little trickier in some ways, but also nice in other ways. if you decide to use one as a background and you pull it aside, a lot of times there's a second paper and then you can use the other side and cut it apart. Or you can make sure, if you love like if you have a background but you love the other side and you wanted to use the other side as well, cut out a square from the middle of it and then just make sure that you have a square big enough to cover that hole, if that makes sense, when you actually put that layout together. So then you can use some of that pattern on another paper. In this case, this is not double-sided, except for I have a couple of sheets that I purchased that I didn't need to because there were actually already two of these in the, or at least one of these in the packet, or in, in the tablet here. So I didn't need to buy those a second time. So a couple of these I have two of, but now hers, I noticed this last night when I was looking at this, her paper pad's a little tricky because she has 48 papers, but 44 of them are different designs. So she doesn't necessarily have like two of every sheet where I can say, okay, this one I can use as a background, but I would like to also use it in a smaller portion so I can cut one up and use one as a background. I'm going to have to pick and choose, which is totally okay. And there are doubles of some of them and no doubles of some of them. So I'm just going to have to make some decisions and be happy with that, which is totally fine. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to pick out and I'm going to pull out my papers that I know I don't want to cut up. I know I'm going to use them as a background. Like for instance, this one, I know I'm probably going to add a photo here and I'm going to embellish these little squares. I don't want to cut this paper up. However, I have two of them, so I could also see myself cutting these little pieces out and adding them to my die cut stash. So I might do that. That's kind of a separate thing aside. I could have done that either way. So it's not necessarily, that's not connected to the process I'm doing, but that just came across my head when I was flipping through that. This I could see as a background page. This I could see as a background page. A lot of these are going to be great. So you just have to make your decisions on which ones you want as background and which ones are busier patterns. Like there's a lot of ones that would work as backgrounds. Like I love this one. I think it'd be so cute as a background. I can just see like blacks and grays or, other colors. And they don't have a 6x6 format or version of this paper in the pad. And I think it's only one. So I'm going to have to make a decision. And if I do keep it as a background, maybe I can cut out this portion, make sure that when I do the layout, I have a larger layer to cover it, and still have some of this to add to another page, if that makes sense. So that's what I was talking about. This one I'll for sure cut up because it's really busy. This is a great background. Good background. There's a lot of great backgrounds. This one I think I'll probably cut up, but I think there might be two of those. I'm not for sure. Anyway, so you get my point. Go through, figure out which ones you will not use as a whole background, and put your backgrounds aside in a separate pile, and then the pattern papers that you're going to cut up and use in smaller portions. And when I say smaller portions, I mean in 6x6 and all the different sizes of layers that you can create. So 2x12, 6x12, 4x3, 3x5, 5x7. I mean, there's all kinds of options, and I don't necessarily measure because I just don't. Now keep in mind some of these, some patterns you're going to look at and you're going to say, okay, that one's really busy, or I know I'm going to want to use that in a really small, a small way. Then cut up little squares, or cut like a 1x12 inch of paper to use as a border strip somewhere, or to tuck underneath something. If you're not going to want to use it in a bigger portion, then don't force it. Just cut it as you would have if you were putting it directly onto layout right at that point in time. So anyway, so the first step in this process is pulling out your background papers, randomly cutting up the papers that have designs that you want to use in smaller portions. I know that seems very scary. I just grab my trimmer and I take my paper, and I have a few scraps from the layout that I already made. I'm going to just add that to my pile. I just create a pile, and you end up with this huge pile of basically scraps. And that's what they're going to look like, is scraps of all different sizes of papers. And so I'm going to do that really quickly. I'm going to show you what I come up with. I'm going to try to use as much of this paper pad as possible, which means I'm going to probably make a lot of layouts. But it'll be great. So I'm going to really quickly pause. I'm going to pull out my backgrounds, pull out the pattern papers that I want to cut up. Like I said, I'm leaving the 6x6 as is. So when I'm cutting up, I'm not going to probably do any 6x6. I'm going to do all different rectangle shapes and strips and things because I know I'm going to have plenty of the 6x6 dimension to work with through the paper pad. So I will pause. I'm going to just cut, and I'll pull out my backgrounds first, then I'll probably record how I do the cutting process, and then I'll probably pause it again and then show you when I'm done. So I'll be right back. Okay, guys, I'm back, and looky here. My paper pad is empty. Now, it's not to say I'm not going to have scraps left over when I'm done with this. I probably will have a few, but 48 papers done. Out of their packaging and ready to be played with. So, okay. Just to show you an example of what I pulled for backgrounds, and I can change my mind because there's a lot of backgrounds here. But anything that was more of a subtle, like a subtle solid is what I call them, or a very subtle design in the background, something that I just envision being a good background, basically, because I don't like super busy backgrounds, although I do a lot of layering, so I can usually tone it down if there is one. So I just kind of went and just made a decision. So this is one that I use as a background. I'm not crazy about this paper overall, so I'll probably put it at the bottom of the pile. If I get to it, I get to it. It's not my favorite paper by any means. I pulled one of these for a background. This one here. So I'm not going to go through them all. I just wanted to give you an example. Like this, while it's a busier pattern, the color is subdued. So I think this will serve better as a background to see, I guess, to appreciate the pattern versus like cutting it apart. You're just going to see bits and pieces of it, and for some reason I feel like this would be better as a whole background. And it's that really pretty like craft color, and I think it'll be a really nice background. And it's, you're going to the papers I'm going to have to use on it are going to have to be toned down. Anyway, this guy here, so just, graph papers are always great. This one I thought would be good to work in this here. I think, cutting that up, it's not going to look real good unless you just did a little strip off the side. So some of them are, made the decision pretty easy. This I thought would be fun, like the patchwork background. And while you could cut these up into squares and use them as layering, and I may decide to do that. I think it'd be cool just to put like a little, section of pictures and stuff here and have a really cool background. So this, is kind of prepared for you as a background. This just has a really light colors. I thought that was pretty. Again, I feel like this, while you could, cut this out and use it, it's a very subtle pattern. Those grays are nice. This is the busiest one I have in here. Again, because I thought that cutting this apart would take away from the design, and I think it'd be cool. You could cut part of it, and you're going to have these cool diagonal stripes. So who knows? But I think there's a 6x6 in this pattern, so I'll still be able to use this same pattern in a smaller version on another layout. This one, I thought this had some really fun embellishment at the bottom. I could add to that and make a nice background. So I have a lot of backgrounds here to play with. There were two of these, so I took one as a cut apart and one as a background. This one I went back and forth on, but I think there's a 6x6 in this pattern, so I think this would be really pretty as a background. This one had that edging, so I thought that would kind of made it feel like it was already prepped for you as a background. Go again, just the real light grays and browns work really nicely as neutral backgrounds. Okay, and there we go. Okay, so those are my backgrounds. So you guys, if I get a layout done for every one of these papers, look at how many layouts that is. Okay, that's just what I'm talking about. Like, not to say I won't get tired of it by the time I get to that point, but this could be an amazing number of layouts. Okay, so I'll put those aside and then show you the pattern papers that I'm going to cut apart. So I just picked the ones that had multiple colors usually, because then cut it apart and that's going to help guide me in my layout. So a lot of times when I do a layout, I'll have one paper on there or one embellishment or whatnot that is multicolored. If there's colors that I want to bring into the layout, and then that kind of provides me as the guide for the other colors to add in solid forms or whatnot. So anything that was multiple colors. This, I had the other pink like grid like paper, so I thought this would be pretty as like a photo mat, or you know, just as layers. And I wanted to make sure I had some pink in here. And this green is really pretty. It's a small polka dot. This also could work as a background, but I thought this would be really pretty cut apart. This one I decided to put in the cut apart pile. And again, this Busier Floral. I had 2 of these, so I put one in the cut apart. Another Busy Floral. This one could go either way. And I still, before I cut it up, you know what? No. I'm going to do this as a background because the 6x6 pad has it in small form. So I know I'm going to get to use it in a small, you know, in a smaller section on a layout. And I think, are there 2 of each? No. So I'm going to put this in my background pile because I just really like how that looks together. Okay. And then these polka dots are busier, smaller polka dots. This yellow would also work as a background. But I don't think there's one of these in the 6x6 pad, and I thought that it'd be nice to have a yellow that I could cut apart into smaller pieces. So it's important to have a few more solid-ish papers in your cut apart pile too, because if you do have a busier background, or you just need a mat, or you need some non-multicolored papers to add into your layout, you're going to want to have a few of those. So here I have this pink one. Not saying it's solid pink, but it's mostly pink, and it's going to serve as that. This arrow paper and these red polka dots. Okay, so those are the papers I'm going to cut up. I am going to just get started, and I'm going to do this one last because I'm not for sure if I want to cut these out and put them in my die cut pile, or if I want to just cut them in strips. I'm going to think on that one. That's the only one I'm just not for sure about yet, what I want to do. I'm also going to tear out all of these and just add them to my pile. So I'm just going to, and I have this scrap left from the layout I already did. And so I'm just going to start my scrap pile here, which is going to be my 6x6 pad and my cut aparts here. So I don't need to show you how to take 6x6 papers out of a paper pad, but I'm just going to do it. This is also going to be empty. So by the time I'm done with this part of the process, both paper pads are going to be completely empty. Okay, so I will do that. Before I pause, I'm just gonna show you what I do, and it's very it's not science. It's really, I just start cutting. And here with stripes like this, I like to cut more this way so that I have stripes that are going to have more color options available to me. I can still cut it down again if I need to make it a smaller piece. But if you cut this way, then you're limiting yourself to just those colors and those lines, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut. A lot of times with these multicolored stripes, I like to do smaller strips because they serve really well as like an anchoring border, or you know, whatever. So I am just going to, and again, there's no rules. When you have your pile and you're making a layout, you know, you're putting it on a page and you say, gosh, this would really be prettier in a smaller portion, then you can sure change it. So, but I'm going to start cutting and just adding to my pile. I'm going to do some bigger, and I think I will just do some box there, and maybe just a small. Does this scare you guys? It really isn't. It's really fun, I promise. And again, if you're worried about it, again, I can still cut these down. I'm not going to worry about that too much, but if I feel like I need more of that pink, I can still cut them down more if I need to. like I said, if you want to try this out first with an older paper line, then that is totally fine. And it is scary because you don't really have a plan for the layout. You're kind of approaching your scrapbooking from a different place. And that can be very scary. And you know what, I'm going to do this first. Let's see. Yeah, let's do a little strip here. And for me, it's really fun. I really enjoy it. I like challenges. I like trying different things. I like layering, and so this is a really good, I'm just going to leave that, I'm going to leave that as is. And so what I was saying was, I encourage you, if you know, you're a little scared, to grab an old paper line. But the nice thing about this is it really just makes you, if you're scared about playing with a new paper line, you're scared about cutting the paper, this kind of gets you over that pretty quickly. And it just forces you just to cut it and just to put it on backgrounds. And again, I'm not taking credit for this idea. This is a Shamel Lane deal that she had done in one of her classes, and I give her the credit for the idea. Definitely, I'm going to put these in the pile here so I have it all together. And it's when she did it, and it was like, that is right up my alley. Like right away, I knew that was something that I'd want to do, and that I would love doing, because I like to follow directions sometimes, but I also just like to try something different, and this inspires me. So I know it sounds really weird, but again, there's no rhyme or reason. I'm just cutting different sizes, and a small one from here. There we go. Sorry if I'm boring you guys. I don't want to. It's definitely a commitment. Once you cut it, you can't keep that there. You can't go back. But it's just paper, right? You can always buy another one, or you can just move on to the next paper line that comes out, and do some of the strips here. Alright guys, I'll finish this up and I'll be right back. Alright guys, I'm back, and this pad is now empty as well. Check that out. Empty. Okay? So here is my pile. These are my 6x6 on top here. And I'm just going to leave them as is. I can shrink them down if I need to, but I want to keep them 6x6 because I know I'm going to want to do some backgrounds where I do 4 6x6s, like in a grid type of fashion. So I have the liberty to cut them down more if I need to, but I'm leaving them as is for now because I have plenty of other sizes here. So here is my pile. And they're basically, I've turned them into scraps, but they're going to be more manageable now for me to just start slapping them down on pages and creating layouts, creating backgrounds. So to this pile, I'm also adding in the journaling cards because I often use these as layering embellishments, and these are double-sided too. I may not, we'll see how I do it. If I don't feel like I need to use them, I may save them because they are double-sided. I may save them for page protectors because some of the pages that I might end up doing here might need a page protector to be the second part of a double page spread. So we'll see. Like some of these aren't. Like the ones that are cut aparts, for sure, we'll add. So let's start with that because that's enough. The ones that are not double-sided, I am going to put in the pile. The ones that are double-sided, I'm going to set aside as options for me for, because I have plenty of paper, I have plenty of layering options here, as options for page protectors if I need to accompany a layout I make here with a double page spread. Okay, and then same with these guys. See, these are die cuts, so, but they're layering, great layering pieces. The double-sided ones I'm going to hold off on, but then I have my cut aparts here. And the rest of these I'm going to set aside. So I'll have them there if I decide I want to use them to layer or title, like that one for instance. Or if there's some of these that I don't like one side and I know I won't use it, then I can, actually if there's 2 of each. I'm not sure if there is in the big ones or not. There might be 2 of each of these, so in that case I might go through and just add 1 of each card. We'll see. I'll see what I come up with. Yes, there are. So I'm going to add in 1 of each card. So I keep 1 in my stash for page, the pocketed page protectors if I need to. But these serve as great layering pieces, and they basically serve as like their own little pattern papers. And so let's just do that here real quick here. Didn't realize there were 2 of each, so this just adds in some more options of sizes, because most of the papers I cut apart were a little bit bigger, so I shouldn't have to cut them down much more if I have these in there, because it's good to start with a variety of sizes. It's really cute. Sorry guys, you're getting a good look at Amy Tan's Project Life card set here. It is combined with the Becky Higgins Project Life line. They're really cute. Chevron and florals. Just about done here, guys. Sorry, didn't mean to make you watch all this. I think that is it. Okay, so those I'll set aside for later. And then I'm going to add in because when I'm to the point where I'm putting the main background of the page together, I see myself using these, the envelopes and the tags, because of the size that they are. I'm going to hold off on the smaller die cuts because these are going to be more of my finishing touch that I'm going to do, that I think I'm going to want to wait to do until after I put down the photo. So some of these bigger ones I might pull. We'll see. But I'm going to hold off on these, and a lot of them are different shapes and things, so I'm going to just hold off on these. So these will be put aside, but they'll be nearby. So if I'm like, oh, I need one little embellishment to put in this little section, to tuck in here, I'm going to have these close by to use, okay? And then I'm also going to keep close by the border strips, because I can see myself adding this to the background, before I do anything else, because these are easy to layer photos and stuff on top of. And all of the ribbons, because I'm going to try to use up some of these and put them on the background as either borders or just, tuck them in different places. And then another key thing is to have your stamps and your spray mist, masks, anything that you can alter a background with available, because really that's going to be, I do it, if I'm doing a full-size mask, I will do that first and then add paper on top of it. I'm not doing any with this kit because I didn't put any in the kit. I'm just really dealing with these stamps, and then I do my splattering with mist, so I know I'll do that. So what I'm going to do is, this is going to be my second step after I get the papers down onto the backgrounds. Then I will go through and just, place a stamp here or there based on where the papers are. And so then I will put papers down, I will do misting and stamps, then I will go add my photos, and then I will go add in all the finishing touches. So all the stuff that I set aside in the bucket, all the finishing touch stuff, the wood veneers, the 3D embellishments, the textured stuff, will then all be my last step. And then by the time you're done, you've worked your way through many, many layouts, and it's gone really quickly. So I'm going to stop here, and I am going to organize myself here a little bit, get my backgrounds up here, and I'm just going to start gluing stuff down. And I will try to do some video of that. I don't think you need to see every page, you know, me gluing stuff down on every page, but I will, when I get in my groove and get it figured out what I want to do, then I'll come back on and do another video showing you guys that part of the process. So we will see you guys soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.